Fitz Jackson, welcome to Profile.
Thank you. My pleasure being here.
35 years in active politics, 30 years as a member of parliament. You said you've never lost an election, which is quite an accomplishment, especially when one considers how tumultuous, and I think that's an appropriate word, our politics can be. You know, things change a lot. Serving not just as a member of parliament, but also in the wider society as well, both just as a person, meaning you have a life outside of politics. In politics, that's been much of your life. You know, member of parliament, as I mentioned there, former chairman of the PNP, deputy leader of the House of Representatives, at the ministerial level, Minister of State, you know, business and community service as well as international experience. And, you know, it strikes me that so much, as you told me earlier, of your life connects to politics. Having been in politics for 35 years, and as you reflect on it now, first of all, how do you feel?
I feel good. I feel good. I think I have been blessed, fortunate to have the opportunities to have served in the various capacities that I have over the years. Starting, actually the 35 years goes beyond that because that is in party politics in Jamaica. Prior to that, I've been active in my secondary school education environment at Kingston Technical High School, where I was form captain in earlier years and then subsequently head boy and student council president. And then after high school, at the tertiary level, in many community groups in places I've lived in the United States and in my own communities here in Jamaica, in Lloydersville, in Helshaw, and in the broader Portmore. So one could say I've been continuously engaged on community matters. And I believe it's because imbued in me and my family is a sense of service. And when things are happening around you or things need to happen, you have a duty to make a contribution towards making them better. And I think I do get a great deal of satisfaction from other people's success and achievements.
I want to talk a little bit about, you know, that what it requires to do all of that, because you said you have no regrets. I'm going to leave people with that for the moment, because I want you to explore why you say that a little later on. But you said you grew up around politics, but indeed you sort of grew up in politics. Let's talk a little bit about the early days in Lloydersville.
Sure. Well, grew up in Lloydersville, run up and down like every other children. All other children in rural Jamaica. I do everything, or not the bad things, of course, that all children do growing up. You know, climb tree, pick fruits and break sugar cane and eat and all of those things. Very rich growing up years in Lloydersville, I believe. Well, I don't believe, I know, come to appreciate that it has impacted me significantly. Personally, I was a bit fortunate. I grew up in a family that could do. My parents were business people, and family was provided for. But all my playmates and everybody I grew up with were people that were relatively poor and struggling. But you didn't understand it in terms of poverty or not, because it's just your life. As you grew older, you come to appreciate their circumstances relative to yours, and even my own educational opportunities that I have had, very much different from many who I grew up with. And I oftentimes say to persons, it's not because I was particularly brighter than many others, but I had opportunities that they never had. And that caused me to appreciate from that very early age how important opportunity is for personal development of individuals and for community development.
These opportunities provided by your parents.
By my parents.
You said they were business people, but
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the business itself.
Yeah, they sold clothes, shoes, and they did farming, and they did pretty well at it. I dare to say my mother was the main economic advisor and catalyst in the family. And I was fortunate to have the benefit of their input, my mother and my father. My father was too involved publicly. He was a parish councillor, was a district constable at some stage, very much involved in community activity. So you grew up seeing these things happening around you, seeing people coming around. And my mother was a great philanthropist. I don't know how she did it, but she helped everybody. And it was never a burden. And she never talked about it. Never. We learn about all the things and many persons who our parents, particularly my mother, did for other persons, not from her. She never uttered a word about what she did for anybody or was doing for anybody. We learn from those people later on in life.
And politics was in the midst of everything, even
around her. She herself was not directly involved in the political activity, but as the wife of my father, for example, my home was where Michael Manley came for rest when they're campaigning in that side of the parish, and the food and so forth is prepared at my house. So all of those
because he was a parish councillor.
He was a parish councillor
in Louidersville.
Louidersville division.
For the People's National Party.
For, of course, no other than the People's National Party. And so you grew up in that environment. And my mother, of course, she, was an active, more quiet doer in it all, but very influential to all of us and many in the community of Louidersville.
What were your parents like in terms of the lessons they were, because you talk so much of the influence of this in terms of how it shaped your life, in terms of the kinds of things they were saying to you growing up?
Interestingly, they didn't say much to us directly. We learned from observation.
Oh, so your siblings, by the way, you and your siblings?
My siblings and myself. We learned from observation, seeing what they do, hearing the conversations that take place around the house. And, even in later years when my siblings and myself, we reflect on our growing up, that's when we realize how powerful their teaching were to us without they directing any words to us, just by example,
I want to talk a little bit about the school journey, but we have to take our first break on Profile. My guest is the Member of Parliament, 35 years in politics, in active politics, and 30 years in politics. He's a Member of Parliament, he's a former minister, he is, he's worked in business and community service all his life. Fitz Jackson is with us, and we're back with you after these messages.